What's up, everybody? What's up, and welcome back to On the Warpath. Sanchez 405 with you. As always, make sure you click that subscribe button, hit the bell so you get notifications anytime there's new content. Post, always like, comment, share the video out because you know we do here. We talk about the Washington Commanders. It is Wednesday. It's Warpath Wednesday. So you know what we do. We bring on the brain trust behind Take Command podcast. I hope I don't get sued for that. We'll say allegedly on there. We bring in William and bro, let's just dive into it real quick. The New Orleans Saints game, 20-19 over the Bayou Boys, and some people's hearts stopped, some people's lives stopped, but somehow Mr. Quirk, I think his name's Terry Quirk, the side judge, decided to stop the clock. And that's where we will start our conversation, is the pool report from Sean Hockley, and it just seems like they can't stop it. It's not reviewable. In that moment, what were you thinking?
Well, I mean, I think that that's the best place to start before you even get into the game, and I think that it's indicative. It's indicative to a larger point with the NFL this year in particular, that I think that across the board, the officiating has just not been as good as it has been in previous years. I think that there are a number of instances throughout this season for basically every team where there have just been straight up mismanaged games and games that have not been called according to the book. Of course, everybody has spent time talking about some of these light fluff calls that are going on. The pass interference rule seems to be more vague than ever, but this was an instance where, I mean, you said it, the pool report comes out and it is clear as day that there was a legitimate error, a clear-cut error made by the officials that frankly almost lost the Commanders of the game, and in the grander scheme of things, really almost cost the Commanders potentially their season if it had gone another way. And I think there's not too much that you can say about it, really, given that they even owned up and just said, look, it was wrong. The guys in New York need to take a good, hard look at the officiating in this game and across the entire season and, really make some tough decisions about how they're going to move forward. I think probably before the playoffs begin, but certainly before the 25-26 season, because that was inexcusable. And the officiating, I think, league-wide has just been not up to snuff for what you would expect for the National Football League.
Yeah, people complained about the pass interferences and the roughing the passer the second time around on Dante Fowler Jr. And I mean, I kind of agree on the second one. Like, that didn't look right, but the fact that you stopping the clock when there's this isn't college, this isn't high school. They got a first down. That clock is supposed to continue to roll. There's no excuses behind that. You shouldn't be waving your hands in there. This is a guy who's been an official since 1999. You weren't even born. I was in elementary school. So that's how long he's been an official. He should know the rules by now, unless he had some scratch on it. I'm not trying to bring nobody's integrity into it, but that does, Lou Holder says it best. That is something that makes you go, in situations like that. But the overarching, I'm always about personal responsibility. You shouldn't have been in that situation to begin with. So no. We tease that you come into a game where you were 8-5 coming into it. They were 5-8. You're coming off a bye week. You played a pretty decent first half offensively, and then the bottom fell out. The bottom fell out on both sides of the ball. Offense couldn't move the ball. Defense couldn't stop a nosebleed. Let's just be honest. The defense could not stop. They couldn't stop Helen Keller from seeing to the next state. That's how bad it was. They gave up scoring drives on the last 4 possessions of the game that put them in. And we can say offense put them in a hole. You shouldn't have kicked that field goal. That's probably where we'll go here next. Let's go there. Let's go there next, because I know. Yep. He didn't stroke the hair to the left side.
I'm getting teed up.
He's getting teed up. He's got that UVA glow on him. And let's just dive into it. Was that the right decision, in your opinion, to go for that field goal? And then if it wasn't, what would you have done in that situation if you were Dan Quinn?
I think that it almost is reminiscent of the rematch to come with the field goal decision against the Eagles. And
right.
not costing us the game, but putting us in another what you'd call debatable position. I think that it's a testament more so to who Dan Quinn is as a coach. And I think that he has been scorned time and time again with the Cowboys, with the Falcons, particularly, that he is inclined to take points where you could get them. And I think in many instances, that is not a bad thing to, have as a coach. You want to put points on the board. You want to create a buffer. And look, if you could take them, if you can get them, you got to take them. But I think that given the situation that Dan Quinn is in this season specifically with the personnel that he has, it is not the decision that I would have made. The Commanders' offense is one of the best fourth down offenses in the NFL right now because of how good Jaden is with his legs and, frankly, for a lack of a better term, the magic that he is able to create on a regular basis. Like, they get themselves out of sticky situations. And so it almost makes you feel like, does he have a little bit more Dan Quinn in him? Or excuse me, Dan Campbell in him? Does he have a little bit more Dan Campbell? Like, let's put our balls on the table and see what we can do.
No.
I think less so in this game and more as an overarching theme. I want him to be more aggressive with those play calls in this game specifically against a team that you don't have confidence in their offense to perform despite how bad the team was playing at that point. I think that kicking probably at the end of the day was the correct decision. Like I said, if you can get them, you got to take them. But I think it's indicative to a larger trend with Dan Quinn that there are times like that Eagles game where I want to see if we can get it. And I have confidence in this offense to go out and make the plays when they need to be made. I mean, it's that magic that we've seen time and time again. I mean, you've got people with Christmas ornaments of the Immaculate Reception against the Bears already going up on trees. This team is special, and this offense has proven that they're not going to collapse in the same way that Dan Quinn's prior teams will in the heat of the moment. And while in this game, I think it probably was the correct decision. You don't have faith in the Saints offense to get the job done. As an overarching trend, I do want to see Dan Quinn be less afraid to lay it all out there and say, all right, guys, let's go move the chains.
Yeah, on 4th and 16, though, I couldn't justify that. And I actually had a conversation on here with my buddy Paulie, and he was like, heck, you go for it at that point. I'm like, I don't know about that. I understand why he went for the field goal. I understand just why I understood why he did not kick the field goal in Philadelphia. Greg Joseph is an NFL kicker. I've read all throughout the week. You're going to depend on a fourth string kicker. Sorry, this is not UVA. This is not Junior Baptist Bible College. They don't have fourth string kickers in the NFL. This guy was kicking for the New York Giants a couple weeks ago, and he went like 12 of 16. So he only missed 4. Not bad, not great, but he gets paid to make field goals. And you're indoors, no wind. And we could also say that Tyler Ott has cost us a couple opportunities because Tress Way had to scoop that off the carpet. Let's be honest now. Somebody that you're not familiar with. Exactly, because that could have been an even bigger disaster. So there's a lot of, I'm not, I don't want to jump on Greg Joseph as much because he did, for the most part, he did what his job it was supposed to do. He made field goals, and if he didn't make those 2 field goals, we wouldn't have won the game anyway. We would have been looking like, oh, crap, he missed that one at the end of the 3rd quarter going into 4th. That's another thing, incompetent officiating. The game should have moved on to the 4th quarter before then. But, I kind of am very. I don't want to accuse. I don't want to blame him for that. I thought it was the right decision. In the hindsight, I still believe it was the right decision because that puts you up by 10. That's a 2-score game with what 2 something to go in the ball game. Who wouldn't want that? And then you have to force them to call for an onside kick. Hello, this ain't the Detroit Lions, right?
No.
So they might. Just so.
And you want to talk about a team that doesn't seem to have any magic right now. That's the New Orleans Saints, despite what they quote unquote nearly did. I think that you are less afraid of them doing something special while given the fact that they ended up almost doing it. I think that the part of me that wants us to just lay it all out there is A, the Jaden advocate, B, the trust that I have in this offense, and C, as we have just been forced to talk about now for weeks, just how truly pathetic the Commander special teams units have been. And
hey, shout out to your boy Luke McCaffrey. He looked good on the kickoff returns.
Hey, I was going to tell you, he looked sharp out there on a couple kick returns. Nothing special, but he was getting up like 30, 35, like into good field position, getting a little bit extra, bouncing around. But look, I mean, it's just I still, and it's nothing against Greg Joseph in particular, because like you said, he didn't win us this game, but he also certainly didn't lose us this game. I think that you don't have a confidence in them right now where I'm willing to rest on our ability to kick field goals, no matter who it is, until we find that person that we know can go out there and get the job done. I have more faith in our offense 10 times out of 10 to move the sticks than I do for the special teams unit to convert a 35-plus yard field goal in most instances.
Wow.
I think it's that bad now. I think it really is that bad now. And I mean, I was talking to you during your stream when we missed that field goal. Thank God he gets the second attempt, because that was another just out of there miss. Out of there. Like, I don't think that they're the people that are going to get it done. And I think, not to get ahead of ourselves, but when you're looking at a game like we've got coming up this weekend, this is if you've got an opportunity, you got to take points.
Yeah.
And right now, the special teams unit is not the group that I'm looking at to put points on the board.
And I mean, two words you sent me, my God. And I had to chuckle on that even during the stream. But, it was a tale of two halves here. And I think that from a standpoint, and I've heard the word soft being used all week. And like I said, my guy Paulie said the same thing. He said this was a soft performance. And I can't disagree with him that the offense looked very finesse instead of hitting these boys in the mouth. And this was a defense that you couldn't play around with. And I think I told you this too. I said they got old guys. I said they've got some old guys on here, but this defense is not that bad. They were only giving up since Rizzy took over, they were only giving up maybe 13 points a game. And it really kept it. They were right around that number. They gave up 20 and they lost, but that's the most points. That was the second most points they'd given up. They gave up 20. They gave up 21 against the Rams in a game that they lost. But outside of the ineptitude on the offense, this defense, hell, these boys let Chase Young come out there and have a career day. Let's not forget that.
I mean, 3 tackles, 2 sacks. He came out there with a vengeance, and a vengeance that we were expecting. We knew that this was going to be a game that he had circled on his calendar as an opportunity to say, hey, all you naysayers up in the DMV, I could still get the job done. And look, as much as it's easy to kind of, harp on the offense sputtering again, especially amidst the struggles that they've had for the past several, not several weeks, but throughout this season, this was a testament to the Saints defense. They did a very, very good job confusing Jaden. I mean, what was it? 8 total sacks on the day. It was 8 allowed sacks for the Commanders. And Corey, some of these were not contested sacks. Some of these were straight up well-designed rushes They were throwing different things at Jaden in opportune moments. There were a couple times where, thank God, he didn't get his head taken off and he turned at the last second and was able to brace himself, because guys were getting to him untouched. And I don't mean to put that on Jaden. I think that the offensive line probably didn't have their best day, but this Saints defense came to play, and they need to be commended for the performance that they had, because while the offense did do something spectacular with the trick play, with Spencer Rattler coming in late in the game and looking very sharp, this Saints defense really, quote unquote, won the Saints the game.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That defense played okay, that's enough on the Saints pity party and everything. Marshawn Lattimore, man, on defense. They didn't throw to him, and he was locking down people as well. Worth the wait. Can't wait to see him this week at home in front of the crowd, because they are going to need this brother to ball out if we have a chance to beat. I'm calling him Training Day Hurts right now, but if they're going to beat the Eagles, but he played well.
I mean, he did, and I was cautious. I was cautious reading his stat line, because in the same way that, we were expecting a Chase Young revenge game, I mean, they knew he was itching for that pick you called. Like, if they threw the ball in his vicinity with either of those quarterbacks who clearly, you could say it wasn't their day, but just frankly are not very good, they knew if they had a contested ball in that area, he was coming away with it. And you look at, the defense in total probably should have had 4 interceptions, with the amount of tip balls and the amount of just frankly drops that they had, which, as we said, are not going to fly when you're playing the Eagles. Those plays have got to be converted. But look, I think that it is a testament to him as a player and to what he's bringing to this defense, where he is going to make teams think twice about throwing it in his vicinity. And when you're looking at an Eagles roster that has so many electric pass catchers, he is going to be really just, there's no other way to put it, game-changing for this defense when you're trying to contain the likes of A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert, Saquon Barkley when he's trying to make some plays, and Devonta Smith. I mean, it's going to, and I saw Jeremy Chin was out at practice today, which is a huge boost for that defense, because it was also incredibly noticeable for the team when he had to come out of the game. Similarly with Ertz on the offensive side, like, excuse me, it's just, he is going to be a factor. I am still tentative to assess just how much of that is his individual talent and playmaking, partly because I haven't seen all of the all 22 and seen exactly what he was doing in open space. And this week is going to be what I would call his true debut, where we see what he has left in the tank to offer Washington.
Yeah. We're going to see what happens there. And to the one more point about this last game was, I felt like the bottom fell out on the offense once Ertz got hurt too. It's like and you can't be unprepared like that. And I think you and I talked about this last week about divvying up the responsibility now that Noah Brown's not there. And I said, we're already getting enough from Zach Ertz. We don't need him to do more. And, this is what happens when you put more on those guys. And it's freak accident, whatever. Hopefully he gets out of concussion protocol and he'll play. He might not play this week, but hopefully he plays against the Falcons. But this is what happens when you get to this time of year and you squeeze, you're harvesting your nuts, as Eddie Jordan would say. And now it looks like we could be in a little bit of trouble there.
I mean, his loss dismantled the Commanders' offensive scheme. I mean, they were running, they were stuck in like 13 personnel for most of the entire game when he was in there. It gave them a ability to spread out Jaden's passing options, which also led him to be, as we've discussed in the past, a much more explosive rusher in the way that he was using his legs. At times, you could even say he was a bit hurried, a bit rushed to get out of the pocket, and I certainly felt that way, but
get rid of the ball.
Yeah. I mean, that has been a theme all season long. He's got to know when to hold him, know when to fold him, and he is just – I love it when he runs, but at a certain point, man, chuck that thing out of bounds. But look, I mean, Cliff, we've talked about his preparation week in and week out, and it just felt like, and obviously you're never game planning for an injury, but it felt like he had no backup plan, and he wasn't sure where else to go once he changed kind of the scheme that was working when Ertz came out of the game. And I think that Philadelphia is obviously going to be watching that film and understanding, if you're able to take one of these pieces away, things can really fall apart for the Commanders.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's true, and maybe also I feel like this team has told us, they said they prep for the bye weeks and everything. They were like, oh, we get to the bye week, we're going to be ready to get after it. It didn't look like it.
Well, and it was our worst nightmare. It was what we talked about.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the momentum that we had built up in that Tennessee game where everything seemed to be back on track. Everything seemed to be going right. Everybody was saying, we're going to get our guys healthy. It's all going to be – no. They came out just unbelievably flat, and they did not have that, 40-yard burst from B-Rob, right, to get things going. They struck early, sure, but that was not a complete hot start from this Commanders team.
No. Yeah, it was clunky, and they've got to do better. They got to come out here, and especially against a team like the Philadelphia Eagles, and that's where we'll move on to, looking to Philadelphia, winners of 10 in a row. They've got to be the best team in the NFC right now. I don't care what anybody says, and I hate to say that about the Eagles. Who is it? It's not the Detroit Lions. They've lost Montgomery. They've looked rough against a top contender in the AFC. And, we don't really know. They might not right now even be the best team in that division, with Minnesota being as hot as they are right now. It's time to say, hey, the Eagles are probably the best team right now on paper in the NFC.
I mean, I would say the NFC, I would almost say league-wide, when you look at the momentum that they have, the wind in their sails, the way that they have such a versatile attacking offense. When we first met this Eagles team, it was a team that was just starting to find their identity. And we spent some time talking about how the Commanders being amidst a bit of a skid, the Eagles had kind of picked up that fun environment, locker room energy, that culture that the Commanders had when they first started winning games at the beginning of the season. We're now seeing that in full form. This is a team that is a freight train going full speed downhill. They are versatile in their attack. They're able to hurt you in a variety of different ways. Their defense is incredibly stout, and they will get to Jaden. There are no ifs, ands, buts about it. They will get to Jaden in this game. And they're going, I said it even before the first matchup. I had this game circled as the biggest game of the season, hands down, without a doubt. It's living up to the billing. It is living up to the billing for just how big, because of the consequences on the Commanders season, because of the form that these two teams can be in when they're at their best. It's a real match of the Titans. And I think that, we look at the Commanders-Ravens game as probably the other best billing, but I think that this is probably the most exciting game in terms of the build-up, in terms of the implications that the team has had all year.
Yeah, I think you're right in that respect. I look at this, and you look at a Eagles team that has been basically defense. They've been shutting people down. Only 20 points given up twice, and since that bye week. And you're looking at it, they beat the Browns. They gave us 16 points. Giants 3, 17 to the Bengals, 23 to Jacksonville, 6 to Dallas, 18 to us, 20 to the Rams. Rams 8-6, leading that division, right? And then they just ran through two of the best teams in the AFC in Baltimore, which we could say that was the kicker's problem or whatever. Doesn't really matter in that respect. Carolina, they had a close call there. And then this past week with Pittsburgh, which I thought Pittsburgh was going to give them more money, more worth than their money. So we'll see in that respect.
I mean, that game I think certainly fell short of the billing, and it was one that I'm settled up on my couch after a near heart attack watching us almost scrape things away to the Saints, and I think that game was really a testament of what this Eagles team can be in the way that they dominated the Steelers. Like, it was a dominated game, not necessarily by the score line. I mean, you look at 27-13, of course, it was a comfortable victory, but you're watching that game and the sense of control that Jalen Hurts and his offense seemed to have on the field throughout the entirety of the 4 quarters of play, the way that they dictated the tempo. I mean, 401 total yards of offense compared to the Steelers, 163, going 5.2 yards per play. That's a first down every other play for those math whiz in the comments section. I mean, this Eagles team they have an ability to not just beat you, but to really take over the way that you want to play your game. And we've discussed it time and time again, how important it is for particularly this offense to A, come out and strike fast, to B, get into a rhythm, to C, play with a lead or play like you're in the fight. They're not a team that's going to battle back from 14 down from what we've seen. The Eagles are going to be the best opponent at stopping all 3 of those things. And I think we are going to know very early in this game whether we have a shot at taking them down. Because if they come out and they're able to put up 2 scores, hold this offense from really creating any production, it would take a lot based on what we've seen thus far in the season for the Commanders to overcome that.
Yeah. And I mean, they keep on. It's that Sirianni mentality that he's established with them. They have really taken on the aura of that city, and then him. And I mean, when I look up D-bag in a dictionary, I'm going to see Nick Sirianni, but it's not lost on me what these cats have done. 6-1 on the road. Also, they only lost 1 game on the road, and I believe that was in the first week of the season against Tampa Bay. That's the only team that they've lost to on the road this season. But yeah, they sucker punch you, and they have out physicaled 2 teams that out physicaled us in Baltimore and Pittsburgh. Like I said last week, I didn't think Pittsburgh was going to come out here and lay the egg that they were going to lay. I thought they were going to give them a good fight. They probably wouldn't have won either way, but they showed that they have it there. And the only good news for Washington fans is that I heard that Saquon Barkley got up a little slow after a hit late in the game. So, we'll see how that goes, because we know with Saquon, and that's really your only saving grace right now. He is that offense. He's got over 1,600 yards on the ground, 11 touchdowns to boot. But we saw what he did against us. And the last couple of times he's played us, he comes out of nowhere. That Giants game last year, he had like 20 yards going into the 4th quarter, finished out with like 100 and some odd yards. This time around, he took us to the apartments twice at the end in that 4th quarter. So I think maybe, and I might not be exaggerating, maybe he's got like 3 touchdowns in the last 2 4th quarters against us. That is the guy that you need to focus on this week at Saquon Barkley. How do we stop Saquon Barkley? How do we make him uncomfortable? If we can stop that, I think we can stop everything else. Because now that you have a little bit of insurance with Marshawn Lattimore, I'm not as worried about A.J. Brown. Maybe I should be. Maybe I'm crazy. But I think if you can outman them, be more physical with them up the middle and up front, you got an opportunity to win. Now, do you ask me the counter question to this? what have we shown that makes me believe that? Not a damn thing.
No.
Not a damn thing.
No, and I was going to say, I mean, you want to talk about how important it is to Saquon. If you're listening to this show, this is not going to necessarily give you the most confidence that we're going to walk away with a victory, because frankly, I am not that confident. The Commanders' run-stop defense has, throughout this season, despite how good they have gotten, despite how they have developed, it has continued to be a incredibly big vulnerability for this entire group, particularly throughout the game. They get worse and they get worse and they get worse. And most of the time, by the fourth quarter, they're hanging on by a thread. And just like you said, it was in the fourth quarter that Saquon busts open the barn doors and takes us to the woodshed twice. Because this defense, even when they are coming out with a hot start, they're just unable to maintain that level of play through 4 quarters. And look, that is not to, hate on these guys on the unit. I think that they have done what we've expected of them. I take it back to the point that this is really year 1 of a rebuild. At the end of the day, the roster talent is just not there for, a level of a team like the Eagles, for example, for the level of an organization that has been building, and now is in what I would call championship striking form. This is a group of guys that has risen to the occasion on many opportunities, but at the end of the day, there is a talent deficit between the Commanders' defense and the opponents that we have to face. The challenge that they are faced with is, how do we overcome that? Now, we talk about how dominant Saquon was, particularly last game. It was evident to anybody that watched. But, Corey, 26 carries for 146 yards.
5.5 yards per carry, just slightly above his all-time average against Washington.
So it's easy to focus on that. Obviously, that is a big issue. But then let's look at that passing game, because in that first matchup between the Commanders and the Eagles, you had 3 different guys with over 50 receiving yards. And guess who's on that list? It's Saquon Barkley at number 3 with 52 receiving yards on 2 receptions. He is going to not only get you with the run, but they've got to be ready to get him in the passing game as well. Those little screen passes are where we are going to have guys. We're going to have guys, like Jeremy Chin, locked in and ready to rumble, because they need to be tenacious, getting to the line of scrimmage, not overcommitting to plays, but being ready to stop a guy like Saquon before he gets downhill. Because once he does, I mean, it's anybody's ball game at that point.
Yeah, I mean, warm knife through butter doesn't really do it justice. But, and we talk about it too on defense. The reason why Saquon had his day was the fact that Mikey Samerstill played pretty well against A.J. Brown, and I believe against Devontae Smith too.
He did, yeah. He had both of them in varying occasions.
He locked them down. I mean, there was opportunity. It was supposed to be a layup down there in the end zone for him, and we've seen that all time in and time again, that these guys get those scores against us. I mean, we had one guy who's now in LA that I believe that A.J. Brown is still paying child support to his mother because of what he did to him last year.
He who shall not be named.
Yeah, Forbes. But and no Dallas Goedert right this time around either. And Dallas Goedert was one of the 3 guys that had those
their second highest receiver.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was Mikey, as you said, going up against Devonta Smith, who is a pristine talent. He is an absolutely phenomenal route runner. It's like watching a stream flow through rocks, the way that he runs routes. It's legitimately like orchestra music. It's beautiful. But held to 4 receptions for 29 yards. Now, my question is, when you bring in a guy like Marshawn Lattimore, how is he affecting our coverage so that we are able to, A, spread our pass pro talent around to limit guys like A.J. Brown, to limit Saquon Barkley in the passing game, and allow our front to really, no other way to put it, dig into the trenches and just, put their bodies on the line to get in front of the freight train that is Saquon Barkley.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's another thing is, how do you manage on the downs, right? How do you manage not putting yourself in 4th and 1s, 3rd and 1s, and then that bull crap tush push comes up, because that seems like that's impossible.
It's an invincible play. Play.
I think they need to add rules in there but that's a different story for a different day. But how do you stop it? You don't put yourself in situations like that.
Well, and how do you get out of this situation to begin with? Mm-hmm. Let's get some offensive production, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Let's get this offense going. And what it has got to be in this game, more so than any game for the Commanders thus far, is that Jaden and Terry need to be thick as thieves. I want them to be sewn together. I don't know if they need to share an AirPod, if they need to go to some couples therapy, maybe they just have a nice little cuddle session, get nice and cozy on the same page before this game, because those 3 misses in that Saints game, that can't happen.
No.
And a testament to Cliff, when we talk about the preparation, that was beautifully called plays. He teed him up, he called the play, and Terry had North America in front of him. He could have gone anywhere. He could have just kept going. But that half-second difference on all 3 occasions, we wouldn't have been talking about the Saints game in the same way we are. Those guys have got to be on the same page. Jaden needs to make sure he's got air under those balls. Terry needs to be ready for him when they're coming in. He needs to have his stop go. His foot needs to be right, light on the gas pedal, ready for any adjustment, because it's those big explosives that are going to make the difference in this game. And if the Commanders cannot find, I would frankly say 2 big explosives from a guy like Terry, I don't think that we have a shot on Sunday.
Yeah, and you got to do a better job of handling Mitchell too, because it was just that Thursday night game. They did nothing to scheme up Terry into it. It was just hell, well, whatever. Okay, and we can say Jaden may have still been injured, compromised, whatever word you want to use to whatever adjective you want to use in there, go ahead and use it. But the biggest thing was, they didn't win, and they didn't do enough to win. And you were set up with opportunities. Jake Elliott helped you out plenty of times. And what did you do with that? You pissed it away. You cannot piss away opportunities here. That is probably, you were 3 of 12 on 3rd down.
Yep.
3 of 12. The Eagles were 9 of 16. You can't have that happen against a juggernaut. I'll call them that. And my skin crawls calling them this. I want, people say they want the Dallas game. I want this game. I hate these bastards. I hate them with everything in there. If I saw Nick Sirianni out in public, I punch him in the face and I deal with the repercussions later. Please, YouTube, that's not that. Please
clip it.
That's not. Don't clip that. Don't clip that. Well, I know you probably could clip that off. But I can't stand them. I cannot stand the way they look. I can't stand the way they talk. I hate cheesesteaks sometimes. I love cheesesteaks, but I can't call them Philly cheesesteaks.
Love cheesesteaks.
I hate everything about it. It's the only city in America that has a statue to a fictional character. F these guys.
But there's nothing fictional. But there's nothing fictional about this team. There
isn't.
They are juggernauts.
They're dogs.
They are
straight up
juggernauts.
Dogs.
No, they are juggernauts. And it's just to your point, not only was it not scheming up Terry, but what was it? It was all the way until about a minute and a half left in the first half that Jaden even found a receiver.
Yeah, he was throwing.
Did he even
hit
one?
Eckler show.
you got to credit, like, you almost want to credit Cliff for finding ways to not throw the ball to his wide receivers. It's almost astonishing how he managed to get through a half of football throwing the football without getting it to a wide receiver. This is a game where you're not trying somebody out. You're not getting experimental in your personnel. Your number one job as an offensive coordinator in this game is to put the football in the hands of your playmakers. That is Brian Robinson, that is Terry McLaurin, and that is Jaden Daniels. You need to put those three guys, your only job is to give them opportunities in the open field. How do I give them a chance to be successful? You're not even going to hear me do my Luke McCaffrey rant because, frankly, if he gets the ball, hats off to him. This is not his game. This is not a development game. This is a Terry McLaurin needs to touch the ball 9 times for a good amount of yardage.
We need rookie year Terry when he was lighting up the Eagles secondary, and then fill in that. And then I also, because because the offense has been good in so many places that we give them, like I said, we have the golden child, and then the child that says, you know what, you did enough, we're good with you. I'm not having this conversation with the defense this week.
No,
y'all need to nut up this year. Y'all, that's exactly what they have to do. You need to buck up, and you need to play your best damn brand of football that you played all year. Stop being sloppy. You need to maximize everybody. I need y'all to take that Zach Ertz energy. I need Benjamin St. Juste when he goes out there for 3 plays, not to act like he is from the island of misfit toys. I'm
going to put oven mitts on him. Oven mitts on him so that he literally cannot grab. And even if the ball comes near him, I don't want him to be able to catch it.
Let him rush the passer. Just put him in 3-point stance. Put him in 3-point stance. Just let him rush the passer or something. There you go. I need us to be aggressive. Frankie Louvu, I hope you were holding out for this game because, bro, I thought he was in witness protection last week.
Yeah.
The only time we ever saw him was he almost had an interception and he dropped it. But for that, I thought he was in witness protection. I thought he was sick. I thought he had a stomach bug with Tyler Biotish. Bro, you need to show up. Bobby Wagner, I need you to capture yourself back in 2012 and play like that. Defensive line guys, Johnny Newton, I need you to play because you done fed everybody this week. Everybody needs to play up big because you done spent $10,000 on that dinner. For Darren Mathis, we know he ain't going to play, so he had to put that on Instagram either way. Everybody needs to come to play. It's Philly. It's the best team in the division, probably the best team in the conference. You need to come out here and show this is your game that you haven't beat a winning team yet this year. You're going to be in your house. This has everything on the wall that you need to win. Show me if you want to play in mid-September. Come out here, hit people in the mouths, and stop being a liability. I'm sorry.
You're giving me chills. I got chills over here. You're not sorry. I'm not sorry. No, I've got chills. That is exactly the message that Dan Quinn needs to have in this locker room. There is no, we've been, exceeding expectations. There is
bullshit.
The defense. No, this is it.
Bullshit.
This is it. All of the good that people have said about this team throughout this season, this is the game that you have to live up to it, and you need to cash that check. And it's going to come down to fundamental football. There could be absolutely 0 errors on either side of the ball. BSJ, tie his arms behind his back and just make him run if we have to put him on the field. I need Marshawn Lattimore to be a vocal leader in that secondary, directing traffic, making sure that nobody is catching an uncontested pass in the way that we saw A.J. Brown do it in this first meetup. I need Bobby and Frankie to come out like a bat out of hell, like a rabid dog trying to get to Jalen Hurts and disrupt him as much as they can. And I need Jaden and Terry to be cutthroat killers.
Yeah.
I need them to be silent assassins, just dismantling.
60 minutes.
I mean, no, this is a 4-quarter football game.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen them do it for 20-minute spurts. We've seen
Yep.
them to put together 3 good quarters. This is not a 3-quarter game. This is a game where you cannot give it up. I mean, you're looking at the 4th quarter in this last matchup. It was touchdown, Eagles, 12 minutes to go. Touchdown, Eagles, 5 minutes to go. Touchdown, Eagles, 4:38 to go. We know that this team will take advantage of us if we take our foot off the gas. Every single guy on this roster, on that sideline on Sunday, needs to have their foot punched through the floor of a car on the gas pedal, dialed in and ready to go. Or else, I mean, this could be the fall of Rome and a real crumble against a very, 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 very good football team.
I think this is everybody in that building. They should be on pins and damn needles today, because this is going to be a game that you look at. This is a program defining, like how far you. I don't call it because I don't like calling it a measuring stick game, because I feel like that means that you're not worthy to compete with people. You're in the NFL. You're worthy to compete with these people. This is a program defining game right here. A team that is streaking. How do you end the streak? And then a team that's been stumbling in us. We got to find a way to click. This is the game that you start clicking on, because you don't want to put your next few weeks in somebody else's hands.
No.
You want to
control your destiny.
Yes.
And you do it at home.
Yep. You got 2 games at home. And then the goal is to win this game, win next week. You know, maybe you can relax on the 18th in week 18 to get ready for the following week. But it's all about right now. The Eagles are here, and we got to beat these boys. I don't really care about who sticks out on the Eagles, because
it's everybody.
Yeah, it's everybody. They're dogs. They have no weaknesses. Jalen Carter ate against us. Thank God we get Biotish back this week, because he was sick.
Boy, did we feel his presence. Yeah. Boy, did we feel it.
Dieter played okay, but I mean, you got to have badass in a situation like this. You got to have Tyler Badass.
I mean, yeah. With regard to Badass, like his loss was felt, I mean, across the board on Sunday, and a sickness, one of those things that quite literally there's nothing you could do. You know, it's not an injury. It's not that he wasn't taking care of himself. It's not that you could even prepare for it throughout the week. He just couldn't do it, but you saw the effect that it has on this team. You've got to hope that maybe, you know, in the same way that you were saying with Frankie Louvu, maybe it was a little precautionary. Maybe it was, you know, he could have toughed it out if it were the Eagles game last week, but he took some time to, you know, compose himself, get himself correct for this big matchup. And I think, you know, you're looking at the Commanders' offense in this game. It's Terry. It's got to be Terry. Terry was a non-factor in that first Eagles game. This is a game where, I mean, you want to talk about not career defining for him on a season that has had so much buildup and so much continued success. This is the culmination of where we want to see Terry and Jaden's chemistry come alive. And you know he wants it. You know he's tired of getting scorned by the Eagles. This is his one. And I'm going to I think I lost you.
Oh, we're good now.
I think that Terry is the guy. He is the one that is going to determine
who has to step up.
I mean, and that's a tough one. And that's a tough one because you don't know if you're going to have Ertz. You just don't. I don't have a lot of confidence that we will. I think that, you know, we touched on it last week, but still not having Eckler is going to hurt the run game.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Olamide has shown, you know, a couple signs of life here and there. Diami certainly hasn't really seemed to be that guy. And, not that I'm lost confidence in him, but, if I'm going to talk about another guy on offense that I think has to step up is that, Brian needs to have a many men day.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to have full blown come out there and punch you in the mouth run game, because I don't, not to shy away from who's going to step up with Terry, but I think it's got to be a multi-pronged attack.
Right.
And if it isn't Terry getting the job done, it's got to be the other star of this offense. And, that is Brian. Not to take anything away from Jaden, but we know Jaden's going to do what Jaden's going to do. It's got to be Brian Robinson that, similarly to Terry, puts on that cape and says, you know what, I'm going to take this game into my own hands. I'm going to establish the run game. I'm not going to let it come to me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's got to be Diami. Jameson Crowder is going to be healthy again, and we saw him on a couple third down pass plays, and he scored a touchdown against the Eagles last year at FedEx Field too, when he was a more prominent part in the offense. I mean, he wasn't the biggest part, but he was one of those parts there. Jameson Crowder still has juice in the tank, and I think you're going to have to use him in the slot, and hopefully whoever comes out on the outside, whether it's Alameda or Diami, those guys are going to step up. Your boy Luke's going to have to step up in that respect. And this is, people always say, well, I wish we hadn't lost this guy. I wish we hadn't lost the guy. It's next man up. I know you can't replace the production or the value that you had with Austin Eckler, possibly a Zach Ertz, Ben Sinnott. You're going to have to Ben Sinnott or Johnny Bates. Y'all going to have to learn how to be tight ends in this league finally. So it's next man up. You got to have that mentality, and it's new production. And if Cliff doesn't believe in those guys, like you said, B-Rob needs to have a mini-men day. And he needs, like he was in Philadelphia back in November of 2022. Yep. And I said it on here. I said, y'all think I said, you thought your crap ass defense was gonna stop him? Bullets couldn't stop this man. He needs to unleash Luke Cage on Sunday and just be bulletproof for this defense. Offense, excuse me.
Yeah. I mean, it needs to be a career day for a variety of guys on this team. And I think that for guys like Terry, they haven't had really in their time in Washington, if ever, an opportunity to have a game really with the feeling of this magnitude, where there is so much on the line with a team that is truly, at the end of the day, very, very good, with a quarterback that they know is going to be a franchise guy in a way to extend his rookie season and build a foundation that is only going to improve year in and year out. I think that the hope for what this team could be hasn't been there, particularly for a guy like Terry and his career. And I think that he understands the magnitude and significance of this matchup, but it's got to be a career day. It's just got to be.
Yeah, it's got to be a career day for somebody there. With that being said, we've talked it all up here now. Give me a final score prediction.
I've been batting it back and forth, and I've been going high, and I do not see this being a high scoring game of football. I just don't. I'm so torn, because do I think we can win? Yes. But following that Saints game, do you think we will win?
I'm going to ask you that question. Don't follow my question up with a question, man. You can't do that.
I'm going 17-21 Washington at home. Season in their hands. The guys know what's on the line. 17-21. Both offenses take some jabs. It's an ugly win, but it's a win that they fight out of the trenches. It propels us throughout the rest of the season.
Huh. I like that. I do like that number. I like that. I will go 27-20 Philadelphia.
Ooh.
I did it again.
I mean,
Oops,
you're
I did it
counting
again.
on a couple field goals there, which I certainly don't believe will hit.
Oh, missed extra point.
Well,
Now.
that is a lot more likely than the field goals. I'll say that much.
Yeah. You ask James Madison High School about going for an extra point at the end of the game. But yeah, that's where I got it. I just don't see us winning this game. Just kind of for the reason what you said is that the way we came out and we looked so unprepared against Philadelphia, against New Orleans last week. So I have to go with Philadelphia to win this game. I mean, I know they got a lot of pressure on them, 9-10 games, and I think we'll see them again. I do think we'll see them again, and maybe the third time around. Third time's always the charm. So we'll see what that comes with. But I've got us losing 27-20. The Eagles bring out the brooms on us.
I mean, I think it's a fair shout. I can't disagree with you. I can't.
And it makes my skin like I'm sick.
It's making my stomach turn hearing you say it, but
And I've said it twice this year, so I should vomit on this video right now. But yeah, we'll see, man. We'll see. Yeah, we won't. Merry Christmas to you, because I won't see you before then. We'll figure out how to possibly get together before the Falcons game. That's Sunday night game.
Flex.
Yeah,
That's gonna be a big one.
Yeah. They should bring you out to FedEx Field that day.
I'm saying Dan Quinn revenge game, one.
Yeah. Yeah, they need to bring William out there to FedEx Field that day and have him up there with Craig and all of them in the press box. So,
yeah.
Get somebody work on that. Odyssey, work on that for him. But appreciate you as always, brother. Merry Christmas, and we'll talk to you. We'll talk to you next time. Okay.
Yeah, we'll be there.
All right. We keep that same damn energy. We outlast the bastards together. Go Commanders. Hopefully you prove me wrong and beat the Eagles. Till next time. Love, peace, and hell. We are out of here.